Flyperbole, flip, flyperbole. Flyperbole, flip, flyperbole. Flyperbole, flip, flyperbole.
Hello, friends. We are back. The draft has come and gone. Free agency has started, and we're not going to talk a lot about free agency today. Just a spoiler alert on that one. There's not a ton to say on that front, but there's a ton to say about the draft. Very excited to get into all that. Before we formally get into it, though, I just wanted to thank everybody who came out to the Broad Street Hockey and PHLY draft party last Friday. What an amazing night. What a fantastic venue. Thanks to, all our friends at PHLY and everybody at BSH who helped set it up. Kelly Hinkle just crushing it, get organized and all that. Kelly is just the best. We filled up the Play 2 section at Chickies and Pete's, and it was a sight to behold. What a cool night. Quigs, how did you like the draft party?
Draft party was awesome. I'm going to go on record and say that it was even better than the Cutter Gauthier draft party from a couple of years ago. It was a really good time. That one was at Live Casino, right?
Yeah, we did Live Casino for Martone and Mishkov and Cutter Gauthier. And then last year was at Chickies, but we were in like the back of the main area. Mm-hmm. And this year we just had the whole Play 2 section, which was super cool. And
it was filled. It was completely filled. Like, absolutely, just a mass of human flesh. Which
I have to give so much credit to the staff there, because that bar could have been super backed up, because we like the sauce in Flyersdom, right?
Oh yeah.
That bar could have been super backed up, and they kept it flowing. I never felt like I was waiting super long for drinks. No. And they were pumping out the crab fries and pizza for everybody. Great time. And man, also a quick, I just thought this was funny. I jumped in the PHLY comments for a bit, or the YouTube comments the next day, because I jumped on the end of the stream with Bill. By the end of the stream, I think I recorded for 2 hours or something. But I jumped on with Bill, and granted, I was buzzed, right? But I don't think I was like gone or anything.
Yeah.
And I think some of the comments, I think people thought that I was like way worse. You had me on a ton of adrenaline from the crowd and the atmosphere. And yeah, I was definitely buzzed for sure. Maybe light drunk, but this was nowhere near like anybody who saw me on the Super Bowl. This was like a tenth of that. Okay. The Super Bowl, I was out in the streets beating my chest going, fuck the Chiefs. It was so bad.
Yeah. Steve was not drunk. I've seen Steve drunk. He was not drunk. High on cocaine. Yes, but not drunk.
It's a torrid history with me, but
yeah, obviously.
I will say things did get a little loosey goosey after. I don't know if you knew about this, because I didn't really see you after I jumped on the broadcast, but Bill's wife, Ava, came by and gave us shots on air.
That I did not see.
She slipped us 2 tequila shots, which I don't do good with tequila at all. I
don't do good with shots, period. Like
I'm okay with a shot.
I'm at the age now where I
got like 10 years on you.
I was going to say, for me, I'm just at the point where whenever I do a shot, it doesn't go well, Steve. It never goes well.
It doesn't go well.
And I'll have a bunch of beer, I can be pounding beers all day, and I feel horrible the next day just from that. It's just beer. So once I start getting shots involved, then it's over. So I just don't do shots. I refuse. Well, I got a free shot last week on Thursday, because me and my friend were in Manayunk doing karaoke at a place called Ryan's Pub. So it's my fucking pub. It's
there
got
you
my
go.
name on it. And we were there doing karaoke, and I was doing Alanis Morissette, ironic. And
don't you think?
And then the bartender, while I was singing, was like, props, dog, here's a free shot. And I said with the microphone to my mouth, I was like, I can't, I'll die. And then he took it away like it was fucking nuclear warhead. He was like, oh God, okay. And so, yeah, don't do shots. Shots are not.
I can't turn down free stuff. I love free stuff too much. And I feel like I have too much family pride to turn down a free shot. So despite the fact that I didn't want to do tequila. I'm not good with tequila. I don't like tequila unless it's in a margarita. It's just not for me. I did it anyway. Go back and watch that clip because it's hilarious. I'm sure the face I make is just like real, but like I did it. I sucked on that lime afterwards, said like, for dear life. And yeah, after that shot though, I think Bill and I definitely got a little bit loosier-goosier. And at the end of the broadcast, I started singing Pearl Jam Release because we just wanted it to be over, especially because the Flyers hadn't picked him forever and we didn't know anybody in the draft at that point. So it was like, release me.
Honestly, yeah. At that point, the draft took forever this year.
It was a mess. It was a terrible format. The decentralized... Here's the whole point of decentralized, in my opinion. You do decentralized so it goes quicker, right? It took way longer.
Yeah. And now I know a lot of people are mad at the NHL, and I do know that like it was like an owner's vote or like whatever, like the owners voted to make it like decentralized. But apparently, like I can't remember where I saw this, but I think I saw someone on Twitter, like one of the insiders, say that from now on they're going to go back to centralized because they realized that this sucked. Like this is like, in terms of TV, this is easily the worst draft I've ever seen in terms of
so boring.
The broadcast sucked. And then the kid turns around, the kid goes up, gets drafted, turns around, and then he's talking to the general manager through the TV screen, probably having the most horrible, like just terrible, most boring conversation of all time. I couldn't really hear these conversations because I was getting drunk at Chickies and Pete's, but
sure, it was super loud in there too.
Yeah,
mostly from me, but
it's just never do that again. NHL owners.
It was so awkward. Every time they had to go up to the screen to talk to the GMs, it was so awkward and stupid looking.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, and here's the thing, you can still get like the remote celebrity guests to announce the pick. Like that can still happen. But if you ever do that again, tell them to cut it down. Okay. Tell them to cut it down. Cause this should just be, hey, it's me, that guy, that famous guy. Cool. Here's who they picked. Great. We're all done.
When Charles Barkley came on, it was lit. It was awesome. But then he was like, all right, what's the pick? And he's like, well, real quick, Gary Bettman, I just want to say I'm proud to call you a friend. And I'm like, Chuck, tell us who they picked. And Steve, who did they pick with that first pick?
Who did they pick with number 6? Well, your Philadelphia Flyers had quite a decision in front of them at number 6, okay? Because the Nashville Predators had decided to take the dreaded Brady Martin. The Predators took Brady Martin. So it was up to Higgins or Martone. Obviously, you still had like Jake O'Brien and all that on the board, blah, blah, blah. It was Higgins or Martone or you're insane. And the Philadelphia Flyers picked Porter Martone.
They did. And now, for those who were not at the draft party, I was quite animated about the opportunity to get James Higgins. I wanted James Higgins real bad. He was my guy.
You were on top of your chair.
I was on top of my chair. I started a horny for Higgins chant. So, like, I was ready to go. And then they picked Porter Martone, and I was disappointed for about 10 seconds. And then I was like, whoa, hold on. The Flyers just got Porter fucking Martone. Fuck yes. And so then I got excited because Porter Martone, I think you could argue, if just judging by player and what they are, take away position, because I know the centers were ranked higher because they're centers, take away positioning, you could argue that Porter Martone was a top 3 player in this draft. I think he's phenomenal. And again, we talked about this not long ago. Before the season started, people thought he was going to be the number 1 overall pick this year. So the fact that the Flyers got him at 6, we didn't think that was going to be possible a week ago. We really didn't.
We didn't, and he shouldn't have been available because he's a super talented player. 6'3", 205 pounds. That's a big boy right there. Elite Prospects says, while Martone is known as a power forward, it's more accurate to describe him as a playmaker. The patterns of the game seem imprinted in his mind, constantly scanning the ice and knowing his teammates' tendencies, systems rotations, and the expected movements of defenders. He stays connected with line mates, avoids coverage, and puts himself in advantageous spots to make the next play. He builds deft passing plays, moves ahead of the opposition, and preys on defenders and goalies' expectations, manipulating them to open up great scoring possibilities. Bud, I love every word of that. Like, that's what you want in a winger. And I'm already formulating plans, okay? So they had a real big boy draft here, okay? Smallest guy they drafted was 5'11". Everybody else was 6'1" and up. They drafted some big boys. I think they want some big bodies to protect their scoring talent, especially when next year they go after the big dog himself, Connor McDavid. Bring him home, Danny B. Bring him home. And then you're going to have the Martone, McDavid, Mishkov line, or as I like to think of it, the line.
So, it's funny you say that because so one time me and my friends were having a conversation one day about like, what's the worst pickup line you've ever used on someone before? And there was this one I used where I went up to someone. I was like, "Hey, are you a microwave?" Because like that, and bad pickup line. But that the line reminds me of that pickup line. So
good.
Love the line. It is tasty.
It's a tasty line.
I love it.
It's fun. It's fun to dream, right? It is fun to dream about the possibility of...
Or is it foreshadowing?
Who knows? But I'm going to call it a dream right now. And, to quote a great X-Men comic, it's not a dream if it's real. But we'd love for it to be real. But I'm going to think of it as a dream because I don't want to get a big head, a whole bunch of expectations for something that won't happen. However, we're going to have Martone and Mishkov in the top 6.
Yeah.
Which is...
awesome.
It's insane to think about. It's just like, it's Martone, Mishkov, and the center matters. Don't get me wrong. Like, you want a good center in there, but like, you're going to have like insane talent in the top 6. I don't know if they're going to play a line together. I don't know if they're going to be separate. Having both those guys in there, that's elite talent in your top 6. The Flyers are going to score a lot of points with these guys in the lineup. Martone, Hagens would have been great. Hagens would have been like, I could see him with like Forrester and Mishkov. It would have been killer, right? I really like James Hagens. I would have been very happy if they had taken James Hagens. I'm not mad for a second that they took Porter Martone.
No, not at all. And like, I do think we talked about this a little bit before, but Porter Martone is, like I said, he is one of the best players in this draft. I truly believe that talent-wise, he's top 3 in this draft. And if not even higher, you could argue he's even higher. And
Misa's tough to argue with, but
Right. I think you could argue, but like I would say top 3. But
I think the thing is like he has elite talent though. He has elite scoring ability. Like everything I said about elite prospects said just about like his vision, his sense for the game, but also his just physical attributes that he's big, he's got size, and he can score. Like, dude, come on.
I think my thing is that with Hagens, as much as I liked him, I do think that there was some risk in taking him just because there is that size issue.
Sure.
But with Porter Martone, I think this is as close to a slam dunk pick as you can get. For this draft, I would say it's as close to a slam dunk pick you can get.
Well, if you think of it like Mishkov, right? Like Mishkov only slipped because of the whole Russia factor. And I think some people had some attitude concerns about him, which clearly we don't see a problem with at all because he's a goddamn Flyer. But I think Martone, it's just simply the center thing. So getting these guys later at 6 and 7 is outstanding. And this is how you build that hockey team back up, Do you still need, I don't even know if you need an elite center, but you need as close to a true 1C as you need, and there's ways to go about that. But you can't turn down talent like this when you get the chance.
No, not at all. And he has, like you said, this is elite talent that the Flyers just picked up. And, you know, one day it's plausible that you could have him and Mishkov on the same line, which is just crazy. That's wild to think about. So
even the same
really
power
exciting.
play.
Yeah, no, same power play. And, you know, just looking at his production in the OHL last season, I mean, you know, 98 points in 57 games is really, 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 really good for a draft year. You know, that's outstanding. And it makes me wonder, you know, because I know right now there's kind of a situation of, okay, where's he going to go next? Is he going to go back to the OHL? Is he going to go back to the Steelheads, Brampton? Or is he going to go to college? And the rumor is that he could go to Penn State, which would be kind of cool because that's like right here in Pennsylvania. So that'd be kind of cool. But, you know, I'm curious to see how what route he takes for this next step. Does he make the Flyers out of camp? I don't think so. I really don't think he would. But
you can't say it's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's who's to say, man. So
well, because with some of these guys, like if you're talking about Hagens, right, or you're talking about Mishkov was stuck in Russia, but the question of physical maturity comes up a lot, especially with somebody under 6 foot, and with Martone. He seemed pretty physically mature already. 6'3", 205, you know, like he's pretty physically mature. And it seems like he's got all the senses to be to be ready for the NHL play, like pretty soon. Like I imagine if he doesn't make it this year, and I'm not trying to have high expectations for him coming in this year, because that's a tough turnaround, right? To get drafted and just come right in. But I think there's a very real possibility we could be looking at him in a Flyers uniform the following season.
Oh, I think so. I don't doubt that at all. I could absolutely see that happening. Especially, you know, with them kind of hoping to have a little bit more cap space. Everyone talks about the 2026 offseason. That's when the Flyers are going to start throwing some money around. Like maybe they will feel behooved to say, all right, well, we got this young, you know, winger. Let's bring him up, put him in the top 6, and like trade off someone who has like a more expensive contract. Like maybe that's something they could do. I don't know. I'm just spitballing right now, but I could absolutely see him being on the team, not this coming season, but the one after. And that's really exciting. And, you know, something that I saw a lot of, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this soon. I do know that there was a discourse online of, you know, typical Flyers going for the big guy. You know, they had James Hagens right there and they chose to take someone not as good, which, I mean, that's crazy because I think it's arguable that one of them is even better than the other. You know what I mean? They're both so good, Hagens and Martone. But I tweeted, and essentially I said, like, normally it would normally annoy me that the Flyers are like prioritizing so blatantly size in their draft picks, because everyone, like you mentioned, the smallest dude they picked was what, 5'11"?
Yeah.
But considering the fact that they already have all these tiny dudes, like Mishkov is small, Konechny's tiny, Bobby Brink is tiny, Denver Barkey is microscopic. Jet Lachenko is tiny. Maxim Shabanov is also microscopic. And that's assuming he's going to sign with the Flyers. That hasn't happened yet. But like
latest rumor has him being between like 3 or 4 teams.
Right. But now you got Trevor Zegras, who's like, you know, he's a proven player in the NHL, but like he's this skinny finesse guy. He's not like this big, you know, brutish dude. So I'm okay with them bringing in some beef, you know, give me that beef.
You got to protect McDavid when he's here. But even like, if you think about realistically, just the guys you have, right? Like you do need someone to shove somebody around and clear the way for Matvei Mishkov, because we saw this a lot last year where Mishkov would be in the middle of these scrums and it was very Tyler Durden Fight Club-esque, or even whatever Ed Norton's character. I don't even know if he has a proper character name in Fight Club. I don't think he does. But you know what I mean? Like where he's just like laughing in the face of getting his ass kicked, right? And he never quite got his ass kicked, but like Mishkov would like get in people's faces and stuff. And I'm not even talking like goons to protect him, but like guys to help him have some space to make some plays. That's my biggest thing is when Mishkov was down last year, his downtimes, it would be because teams would hone in on him and he wouldn't have room to create and be offensive and offensively creative. And Martone is not only offensively creative himself, but he's also just a big body who can go at the net and do a lot of stuff. And the next guy they drafted this is their most controversial pick by a mile in this draft. It's not even close. I'm intrigued, though, by the size, and clearly the Flyers saw something in him that they felt strong enough to go up and get him where they got him. So the Penguins chose to use a pick from a trade with the Rangers, right, in this year's draft. So the Penguins had 2 picks coming up. I think it was like 11 and 12, right? So the Penguins and the Flyers made a deal where the Flyers got 12 and they gave the Penguins 22 and 31, which I've already seen people trying to phrase it like the Flyers gave up 2 picks. They didn't. They swapped a pick. Okay. This is very simple math. I'm not great with math, but I know this math. They swapped a pick and they gave the Penguins 31 to move up. Okay. So the Flyers move up and people were real excited. Who was the defenseman you were hoping for at 12?
Kashan Aitchison.
Kashan Aitchison, yeah.
Yeah.
So Kashan Aitchison was one of the guys that we were considering there, or the fans at least wanted them to get. Victor Eklund was the other one that they really thought, who's very exciting winger on the smaller side, but like very exciting player. I loved every highlight I saw from him. That's pretty much all I could say on the matter. But he looked really exciting and fun. But the Flyers instead decided to get Jack Nesbit, who, depending on which mock you were looking at, really could have gone anywhere from the mid-teens to the high 20s. He was not, he was expected to be available at 22.
Yeah.
Now, what most people are saying is that the Flyers were expecting somebody to take him in the mid-teens there, which is why they decided to jump up. Specifically, Detroit at 13, right, was where they were worried that somebody might grab Nesbit. Nesbit, I have not heard great things about from almost everybody. People don't seem very excited by Nesbit. The Detroit Red Wings, by the way, would go on to grab Carter Bear, left wing, with 13. And then the Penguins would go and get Bill Zanin with 22. And they traded 31 to move up to 24 and get Will Horkoff with 24. And yeah, I mean, number one, I didn't see great draft grades for the Penguins. Not the worst, but definitely not the best. With 31, LA would get Henry Brusewitz, who is a defenseman from the London Knights. And the most annoying thing I think that came out of all this is that we wanted Aitchison or Eklund, and then the New York Islanders got both of them at 16 and 17. Yikes.
The Islanders had a phenomenal draft, and it really, really annoys me how good of a draft they had. I was, at the beginning of the draft, I was just concerned about don't let them trade up and get Higgins, because that would piss me off if they got both Matthew Schaefer and James Higgins. Turns out they end up getting Schaefer, Eklund, and Aitchison, and to me, that's almost just as bad as getting Higgins and Schaefer. So credit to them. They had a really, really good draft, but also I'm quite annoyed because we hate the Islanders. All my homies hate the Islanders.
All my homies hate the Islanders. It's exactly what I was thinking there. But yeah, it's annoying. And the fact that Nesbit was nobody's favorite, nobody really seemed like thrilled by Jack Nesbit there. It kind of stunk, people, it was deflating. People were real down in the draft party because of that one. But I mean, overall, number one, we don't know shit. I mean, the Flyers have scouts checking him out. Right. And they know something if they decided to move up there. So the Flyers feel strongly that Nesbit could be something. Great size on him. He's 6'5", 185, could maybe bulk up a little bit, but overall, like 6'5" it's coveted. I mean, the Ducks ended up getting Roger McQueen, who we talked a lot about, at 10. And then he went on a whole Disney journey on camera, which was so weird to watch. So weird.
That was pretty insane. Yeah. Like, although I will say, did you see the number that he picked?
Yeah.
He's number 95.
Which is McQueen's.
That's kind of cool. I kind of love that.
Not. It's Rick Bork stuff.
I completely disagree. I kind of love the number thing. It's just weird.
Dark.
It's just weird that the Ducks are doing all this shit for him.
Okay, number one, Cars sucks. Okay, Cars is like easily a bottom tier Pixar movie.
I never even saw it.
It sucks. Okay, it's weird. They have bug cars, but no humans. I don't understand it. The world doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I could do an entire episode just talking about how weird Cars is. By the way, Cars 2 is a spy movie. Larry the Cable Guy is a tow truck spy car.
Well, now I'm lost, so I don't know what's going on now.
That's the Cars franchise for you. So number one, so Lightning McQueen, that's some grade A dork shit right there. Okay, huge dork.
You do
that whole
Cars.
Disney journey. Cars sucks.
You're getting big mad over Cars.
I'm not big mad over Cars. I just think it sucks. I just think it was dork stuff. I'm not mad. Yeah, don't tell everybody I was mad. I wasn't mad. I'm not actually. I can get very passionate trashing stuff sometimes, and people think I'm mad, but I'm not actually mad. I just love the trash stuff. I just love it.
Yeah. But regardless, so yeah, like McQueen goes to Anaheim, and yeah, I don't know, but like with Nesbit, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm okay. Like, I would have preferred them not trade up for Nesbit, but apparently they had to, because it sounds like a lot of teams were targeting him in the teens. And you know, if he's their guy, then if they've identified him as like, yeah, we need this guy, then by all means, go ahead and do it. If you think that this guy will help make your franchise better for a long time, then go get him. I hope they're right. But at the, you know, that being said, I'm not sitting here hoping, you know, rooting against him. I want him to be awesome. And there is a chance that he could be. I'm not exactly blown away by what he did in college, or excuse me, in the OHL. You know, 64 points in 65 games. That's good. I would have liked to see a little bit more production, but I guess they really, really value that size. And we'll see, you know, what he can do if he bulks up a little bit, because he's going to need to, because despite his height, he's only 185 pounds. I'm 6 feet and I'm 185 pounds.
I'm not going to disclose my weight here because nobody needs to know what whale size is. But yeah, I mean, he's got a good height, right?
Don't talk about Jesus. Okay, yeah.
I'm a large man, okay? Me and Bill sit up there, you know, we got like it's turbo time. But listen, it is what it is, okay? I just, you know, listen, weights, great. But that's a large man, regardless. That he's got some height on him, Nesbit. I'm hoping he's something. I think when Joe was losing his mind over that one, he said his top projection was, I think Joe said a 4C. I could be misquoting him there. I felt like that was being a little low. Like, you could be a real piece of shit and be a 3C in the NHL as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Like, you don't have to be amazing to be a 3C. I would think the Flyers would hope his ceiling is more of a 2C or an emergency 1C if you're trading up to get him there. But who the hell knows? This is, I think, by far your biggest question mark in this draft from the Flyers.
You want to talk about being big mad about something? Italian Joe was big mad about the Nesbit pick.
Mr. Bean was losing his mind.
Joe's probably going to be listening to this. So Joe, hello. We love you.
Hi, Joe.
But yeah. And you know what? A lot of people were annoyed about that pick, but
there was one guy who walked by in, I think it was a Zezel jersey, and he was like, "What the fuck?" Like, he was furious about it.
Yeah.
I was cracking up, to be honest, because like, here's the thing: be as ever mad you want about that, like, just don't lose perspective. They maybe drafted him early. They only gave up one pick to do this, okay? And they still got great value out of the second round, and they got Porter Martone, okay?
Yeah, that's what people were forgetting.
Yeah. I am not letting anything, honestly, after they got Martone, it was like the Mishkov draft. It's like, and we weren't psyched about Bonk at the time. We like Bonk a lot more now than when we first drafted him. But like, I wasn't letting anything rain on my parade after Mishkov.
Oh no. Yeah. And like, that's the main takeaway. I feel like at the end of the night, so many people left the draft mad about Nesbit. And I was like, you're totally not, you don't have your focus in the right spot. Like, the Flyers just drafted a really, really, really good player who very much has the potential to be a franchise cornerstone. I truly believe that in Porter Martone. I believe that.
I mean, I saw Renton in comparisons.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to go that far because like we've seen like when the Flyers drafted Cam York, you remember they were comparing him to Brian Leach, and look how that turned out. So
Cam York wasn't a top 6 pick. Cam York was a mid-round pick, and I feel like in the NHL draft. Granted, we've seen plenty of drafts where guys will pop off like later in the draft, right? But for the most part nowadays, like, especially if you're making like hyperbolic comparisons, your top 6, 7 is really where you're going to get that kind of talent that where you can justify making a comparison like that. You know, like the Connor Bedard, the Macklin Celebrini, the Martone and Mishkov, where you can get a little crazy with it because like these guys are the best of the best. And I feel great about Martone. Like, I don't even care about player comps. I just know this is a big body with great hockey sense that is going to be a key player at the top of the lineup for this team for a long time.
I think so. That's what I think. Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm like, if your takeaway after that draft was being furious about Nesbit, then you're in the wrong mindset. Like Porter Martone, I think, again, is a slam dunk pick. Really, really excited that he's on the Flyers. And I think people are going to absolutely fall in love with this kid.
Yeah, I think this is a friggin' Flyer right here, but a modern Flyer.
Yes.
Somebody who can play the modern game, play it well. He's not... The thing is, most of these guys they drafted, while they're big bodies, they're not slow. They're not Darian Hatchers out there. They're not Mike Rathjes, you know? These are modern hockey players that can play the modern game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. And also, did you know that Curtis Lazar is still playing hockey?
Wow, Major Laser.
Apparently, he just signed with the Oilers. So,
oh wow,
yeah. Sorry, that just completely threw me off.
It's wild to me. I want to talk about an irrelevant player right there.
Oh yeah, but yeah, man, it's an exciting time. And I, all things considered, hard to be disappointed with this draft. Whether
to be disappointed.
Yeah, regardless of your thoughts on Nesbit, I am very happy with it.
So my thing was, after Martone, it was all gravy, right? But they had 3 second-round picks. In the second round, you get some really quality hockey players. Mm-hmm. So you're hoping they kind of nailed the second round. That would make you kind of forget Nesbit. And boy, from everything I've heard, they really did nail the second round. Mm-hmm. So I was really hoping they would get Fiddler because I liked everything I heard about Fiddler. Big body, but a smooth skater. Really into that. They traded back when they had a chance to get Fiddler, so they must have not been into Fiddler. Did not care. That's okay, because everything I've heard about Carter Amico, is it?
Amico, yeah.
Amico, who I want to start calling him Carter Amigo and say it like Sam Elliott, like Carter Amigo.
I love that.
Hey, amigo.
Yeah.
But Carter Amico, you want to talk a big body. Defenseman, 6'5", 225. Holy shit. This guy can turn you into dust.
Some have him as 6'6" already, so that's
woo! That's the thing. Nesbit, by the way, is either 6'4" or 6'5", depending on where you see the listing. And right. Amico is 6'5" or 6'6",
yeah,
which is just wild.
And 225. Like, that's awesome. Like, the fact that he's got that weight on him is excellent. And, like, one of my favorite players, and I'm not saying that this is what Carter Amico is going to turn into, like, one could assume that he's going to add even more muscle to his frame as he, gets into the, once he comes to the NHL, I'm sure he's going to bulk up even more. But, he's already 225. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could be like 240, which I love. One of my favorite players since I started watching hockey was Dustin Byfuglien. And what I loved about him is he was just so fucking heavy that he would just be skating around. Someone could skate right into them, going as fast as they could, lining him up, trying to kill him. And then he would just stand there and they would like destroy themselves because he's just such a massive body. One of my favorite things to do in my spare time is just watch highlight videos of Dustin Byfuglien just being huge, basically.
This is how I know you started watching Flyers hockey after 2010. If you have any love in your heart for Dustin Byfuglien.
I know. Yeah. I only knew him once he joined Atlanta and then Winnipeg.
Oh my God. Because Dustin Byfuglien was just like, oh my God, I hated that guy with the Blackhawks. Like he was such in the 2010 Stanley Cup what a pain in the ass he was. He knocked Chris Pronger on his ass. He was incredible. He was a force of nature in that series. I hated his guts. Respect the hell out of his game, though. Just like would have been an amazing Flyer if he had ever come onto the Flyers.
Yeah, but like, with Carter Mika, I don't think he quite has the offensive tools that Byfuglien had, because Byfuglien was awesome offensively too.
Byfuglien played both. He played offense and defense, which is like so
crazy.
Rare.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. But Carter Amico, I feel like he's really gonna be that big body defenseman who you can line up, and he's just with his range, he's gonna take up half the ice. You know what I mean? So that's really exciting. Not like a perfect prospect. There's still some things for him to work on, like particularly offensively. He does have some injury issues, which is obviously a little bit concerning, but overall, I love Carter Amico, and I'm excited about what he could become one day.
Yeah, Amico sounds super exciting. Jack Murtagh was one of the picks. Sounds pretty good. I don't really have a ton to say about him, but I liked everything I heard. I'm just disappointed his name isn't Murtaugh, because I just kept thinking, get too old for this shit.
Yeah.
But Murtagh was in the second round. Now, the other guy people are really excited about from the second round is Shane Vansagi, who Charlie drew some Wayne Simmons comparisons game wise, which you want to talk about. If you want to get Flyers fans excited, mention Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, it's exciting, and he's another bigger dude. He
6'3", 212.
Yep, like bigger, like, and that's the thing, man. Like when you're this age and your weight is over 212, like that to me, that's awesome. Because that means that you have some muscle. It means you have like a nice solid frame. So I'm excited about that. I'd certainly think he's going to need some time to develop a little bit more in college. He just spent last season at Michigan State, 16 points in 37 games. So not like amazing, but we'll see what happens this coming year. And, it's the size, it's the grit that he has. I'm really, really excited about Vansagi. I do think he's a long-term project, but if he pans out, I think he's going to be so much fun.
Elite Prospect says, after breaking plays and getting some space in the neutral zone, Vansagi carries the puck in, dangles around defenders, and fires a missile to the top of the net. He bypasses sticks in his firing motion, dragging the puck towards him to release or aiming through defenders. On top of those skills, Vansagi also has his moments as a playmaker, landing passes in transition and from below the goal line. Even under heavy pressure, he seems to retain an awareness of the ice and an ability to add a touch of deception to his feeds. Instantly after the pass, he gets open for a return feed, showing an above-average tactical understanding of the game. So another smart player, too, which is, I think, one of the things that this Flyers team really values. When I was talking about the initial draft rankings and we were talking about, like, Desnoyers maybe ending up with the Flyers, like, Desnoyers was one of the smarter players in the top 10, which is why the speculation would go to the Flyers quite a bit. Who did Desnoyers end up going to? He went to the Utah Mammoth with number 4.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people in BSH in particular were not enamored with Desnoyers, mainly because, like, I think he seems like he's a pretty good, like, second line center. I think from most indicators, where we were looking for more of a game breaker. And I think we did get that with Porter Martone. Martone, there's just such a great upside with, as opposed to Desnoyers, who seems like he's going to be solid, maybe not spectacular.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. And listen, like, this just goes to show, another one of these big guys. Let's see, hold on. We have, let's take stock here. So we have, with the first pick, we have Porter Martone, 6'3", Jack Nesbit, 6'5", Carter Amico, let's say 6'6" for Carter Amico. Okay. Jack Murtagh, 6'1", Shane Vansagi, 6'3", Matthew Guard, 6'5".
Whew.
It's a lot of beef, Steve.
It's a lot of
lots
beef.
and lots and lots of beef. And, like, I know that was one of the big conversations going into, this offseason is, well, the Flyers are so small and this and that. And yeah, admittedly they are. But, there's a lot of skill. And I think this kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. I'm not angry about adding this much beef because there are so many small little guys, short kings on the team.
Short kings, exactly.
Yeah, you can only have so many short kings. You gotta, So yeah, I don't know. It's exciting
when you're getting on the Flyers hinge profile, right? You gotta make sure they're being accurate about their height.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like specifically Travis Konechny, I think he's listed as like 5'10". Dude, he's like 5'7". He's so small. He is such a small guy.
I've never met TK in person. I'll have to like measure myself against him because I'm like 5'10", 5'11", that range.
He's a little man.
He's a little guy. Just a little guy.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Matthew Gard in there. That was their final pick of the second round. 6'5", 194. This was another pick that people were not wild about, but you're also late second round, so like, like there's good players available, but I'm not going to be losing a lot of sleep over, a late second round pick here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, he's another guy with size. Cool. Love that for them. He's a center. Obviously, they're trying to develop their centers. So yeah. Like, listen, we'll see what he is. I don't know too much about him. In the lead up to the draft, I didn't really know his name much at all. I didn't really dive deep into this year's draft like I had previously.
As somebody who this is the deepest I've ever dove into it, and I still feel like I didn't even like I hit the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
But I do want to get into their 5th round pick.
So Max Westergaard. So they got Matthew Gard, and then they got Max Westergaard to just confuse the fuck out of all of us.
Yeah. So,
Westergaard, though, is the smallest guy they drafted. 5'11", 168. He's a winger.
He's a Finnish man. I can't even say man because, Steve, he's still a boy. He's only 17.
He's a Finnish man, but not a finished man.
That's right. He is a September birthday, so he's one of the younger players in this draft. He turns 18 on September 3rd, so that's pretty cool. God, still 2 months away from being 18. That's wild. But
can't relate.
Yeah. But I've been impressed with him. Like, he played a couple games in the SHL last season as a 17-year-old, which is really impressive. Played 11 games in the playoffs. So love that.
Playoffs.
Playing for Fit. I did sound a little bit like Jim Moore there, didn't I?
You did. I thought you were doing it on purpose for a second.
Yeah. I actually didn't, which is funny. But playing for Finland in the U18 World Juniors, he logged 2 goals, 6 points in 5 games. And then in just, the international U18 for Finland, he had 20 points in 23 games. So like, that's really solid production from a guy who was drafted in the 5th round. Like I do wonder why he didn't go a little bit higher. It's just that surprises me. Maybe it's his size, but it's not like he's tiny. He's 5'11", 168. Does he need to get, bulk up a little bit? Yes, of course. But very surprised that he went as late as he did, considering his age. He's still 17. Like, really, really surprised by that. So, this is the kind of 5th round pick you want the Flyers to make here. Like,
I love somebody with a high upside, somebody that you feel confident can develop. And look, if we're talking about a guy who can play like 3rd line wing, because everything I'm reading here, he's got a great 2-way game. Shows strong inside drive. Again, elite prospects here. Goes first in battles, relentless in his will to win the puck. Like that's great shit right there. And if you can get like a 3rd liner out of the 5th round, that's outstanding.
You know who I think would love that, Steve? Rick Tocchet.
Rick Tocchet, good old Dick Tocchet. What is Rick Tocchet going to think about all these guys? And when we get into free agency in a couple minutes, Rick Tocchet sure did get some of his guys in here.
He did. It's a fact. It happened.
He sure did.
So love that.
Any thoughts on the final pick of the draft, Luke Vrosvik?
Not really. Another big man.
Another big boy. 6'5".
Yeah, 6'5". I'll be honest. Like once we get into the later rounds, I don't really care.
See, you cared about Max Westergaard, so there you go.
Well, I did care about Westergaard, but like, yeah, like because I had like heard of Westergaard a little bit. Like I didn't know, I didn't do like a deep dive, but I'd heard his name floated around, and I feel like there was a thought that he was going to go way earlier in the draft. So that's why I was surprised that they got him in the 5th round. That was crazy to me. So, but that's how it goes sometimes. It do be like that.
Vluswick, another big defenseman, one of only 2 defensemen the Flyers drafted in this draft, and 0 goaltenders. That was something we talked about coming into this draft, that the Flyers could potentially draft a goaltender. They did not. They had they would have had a chance at somebody maybe if they kept that late first rounder, but I guess they just didn't. They wanted to go with the big boy value wherever they could. In fact, the funniest thing was that Ravensburgen was not the first goaltender to go in the draft. I believe the Predators got the first goaltender at pick. Where is it? I'm looking at the draft board right now. It was a lot higher than I think we were expecting, because I think I was on. Oh, it was at pick 20. Pyotr Andrianov was the first goaltender taken, the Russian. So, and that was by Columbus, actually. Columbus.
Yeah, and then Frolov, that was another goalie that I was considering the Flyers might go after. Kind of wonder, like, if they hadn't traded away that other first round pick, would they have taken a goalie there?
Right, because they probably could have. Because Ravensburgen would go 30 to San Jose, and they could have, gone up and gotten Raven. And I thought that was fascinating that San Jose, who just made a trade for a hot goaltending prospect last year in Askarov, went with Ravensburgen here. But goalies are weird, man. You got to take as many shots as you can. So why not?
Yeah. But yeah, interesting. It really, I mean, again, we said it earlier, but what an interesting draft this was. Just so many moving parts, very unpredictable, I feel like, from start to finish, which, listen, like, by nature, the draft is unpredictable, but like this year in particular was really, I mean, there was no forecasting, it was
the Islanders did. The Islanders did so many weird, interesting things, ended up having a really good draft. I mean, the top 3 went how you expected. It went Schaefer, Mesa, Frondell, but then Denoyer goes at 4, which we knew was a possibility, but still a little surprising. And then Martin at 5, I think, really blew a lot of people away, because we were all scared that the Flyers were going to pick Martin. I mean, it seemed like a Flyers pick. And also, again, I wouldn't have been the angriest about it, because it would have been an overreach, but he had a lot of elements you like in his game for Flyers hockey.
I had a feeling Martin was going to go that early. I really was not expecting him to get to the Flyers, because I was convinced that he was either going to go to Utah or Nashville, especially with Barry Trotz, loving that kind of player in Nashville. I was like, oh, he's a Barry Trotz dude for sure. So yeah, but really fun draft.
Really fun draft. Had a great time. Again, thanks to everybody who came out to the party. Please come out next year. Hopefully it'll be even bigger and better next year. And just what a fantastic time there. And then free agency started, and not surprisingly, the Flyers didn't do much, because listen, the draft was the big show here. And the fact that they made the Zegras trade, is, don't act like that was not nothing, guys, because that's a big swing for this team. Yeah. And you got to give Zegras a year to see what he's got, especially until Connor McDavid's available and you sign him. But Zegras, you really got to see what you have in him and see what his fit is, see if he's a center on this team or not. So that's a big deal. So going into free agency, you're really just looking at probably an NHL level goaltender, right? And some depth guys. So one of the surprises right before free agency was that there were 3 guys not tendered in RFA, 2 of them not terribly surprising. Elliot Denoyer, especially once his brother wasn't drafted here. Yeah. And Zayd Wisdom, which is a big bummer, because I always wanted Zayd to work out. I loved when they drafted Zayd. I thought he'd be a good Flyer one day, but sadly, no. The surprising one was Jakob Pelletier, who was really the last piece from the Frost and Farabee trade. And I thought Pelletier, once Torts got canned, had a nice end to the season. I liked a lot of what I saw. I didn't love the guy, but I thought he had some nice spice. He had some scoring touch. I liked a lot of it. I was a little surprised they didn't tender him, but it kind of makes sense when you think about the winger logjam, and also the fact that they have guys like Bump, possibly Martone, and some other guys kind of knocking for NHL spots right now.
Yeah. The whole thing with Pelletier was surprising to me because it did. The main reason why I feel like he didn't perform, up to standard was because he was in Torts' doghouse basically from day one.
Right.
And to your point, like as soon as Torts left, it seemed like he started playing a lot better. And so I really, really thought the Flyers were going to give him one more year to kind of say like, all right, you know what? Like last year, mulligan, weird situation. Let's give you one more year and see let's give you an actual opportunity now. And so that really didn't throw me off, but I really did expect them to give him a shot. And now he's in Tampa. And Steve, couldn't you just see Pelletier turning into like a player in Tampa?
Sure can, pal. Sure can. Tampa signed him 3 years, less than $1 million a season AAV. And it's not quite a should have kept, but it's a potential should have kept.
Yeah. Like when I say I could see him turning into a player, that doesn't mean,
not
30,
like a
30 goal score. Yeah. Nothing like that. But I could definitely see him becoming a really solid, fourth, third line guy, which is nice. It is nice.
Yeah. But it is also a position where if the Flyers are strong at one position right now in their depth, it is winger 100%. So I understand from the Flyers viewpoint why they didn't. I just don't like losing talented guys for free whenever you can, but what are you going to do? I'm not, the phrase I throw around is I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and me neither. And no one should. Just a little bit of a minor surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Free agency, all depth moves. I think the biggest one has to be Dan Vladar, Dan Vader, as I like to call him over there, former Calgary Flame. 2 years, $3.35 million cap hit, slight overpay here, but what are you going to do? 27 years old, has not had the most impressive numbers over his career. Highest save percentage was .906 in 2021 to 22 with the Calgary Flames. Second highest, 24-25 last year. Had an .898 save percentage. Not great, Bob. We're hoping that number one, goaltenders can sometimes start to really come into their prime around this age. So maybe he's hitting it at this point. I don't know. And as long as he's an upgrade over what Fedotov and Kolosov gave them last year, and Sam Ersson can stay a little healthier and a little bit more just reliable, you have a team that is, I think, a lot better than last year if those two forces are stable.
I do think it's going to be an upgrade. I don't think that's exactly a high bar to clear either. It's not. I mean, let's not act like Kolosov and Fedotov were even passable NHL players. At least we've seen Vladar, I guess is how you pronounce it.
I think it's Vladar, yeah. Vladar. I like calling him Dan Vader over here.
Mm-hmm. But at least we know that he has played in the NHL, can play in the NHL for multiple seasons. Again, strictly as a backup so far, but fine. At least he has proven to be an NHL player. Is he a great NHL goalie? No, but he's done it. And
I mean, our best free agency choice was Jake Allen, who's pretty good, right. But he decided to sign a very cap circumventing contract in New Jersey for, 5 years at like $1.8 million a season or something for a 34-year-old goalie?
It's interesting. Interesting term for that, but not quite as interesting as the Brad Marchand contract. Dude's 37, signs a 6-year deal. So
that was
interesting.
That was interesting. That also sounds like a little bit of a circumvention there, but that's up to the league to decide, not to us.
Now, I do want to talk about Christian Dvorak because he is another player who he signed with the Flyers in free agency. Reportedly, sounds like he had other offers from other teams that offered more term, and he decided to go with the Flyers because he wanted to be back with Rick Tocchet. Sounds like he really enjoyed his time with Rick Tocchet when they were together in Arizona. So that's interesting. And I like Christian Dvorak. And now this does not mean that he's going to be some sort of game-changing player. He's not. He is very much a bottom six center.
Yeah. But that's what you need. Like, because you traded Ryan Poehling, you brought in Zegras to hopefully be a top six player and hopefully a top six center. You have, Sean Couturier, who, whatever your opinion on Couturier at this point, he's still like a good center. He's just not the game changer he was a few years ago. And of course you have Noah Cates, who isn't great at the face-off aspect of center, but is pretty good. Pretty good at the two-way aspects of the position.
Yeah. And I just, it is nice to have that good face-off percentage. And I know face-off percentage isn't that big of a deal, but like that is one of the big knocks on Zegras, is how the best he's ever done in the face-off dot is like 42%, which is fucking miserable. And then you look at Coots, who's like normally 55, 56%. And then you have Dvorak, 55.8%. Really, really good. And he's
especially when you're on the PK.
Guy.
Especially because he's a PK player. He's a guy you can plug in there. And then when you're back in your own defensive zone, you win that face-off and clear that puck. That's a difference maker.
And another thing I like about this signing is it's so low risk because it's 1 year. It's not expensive, especially with the cap going up. It's nothing.
Yeah, I saw some people like talking about how much of an overpay it was. One specific beat writer was like, Flyers really had to pay to get these guys. Who cares? 1 year. It's 5.4 mil. It really doesn't matter. That's the thing.
They're not going to the cup this year. Who cares?
Vladar's 2 years. They might at best make the playoffs, and that's fine. Dvorak is 1 year. All these guys that they signed, they're 1 or 2 years. In fact, most of them are 1 year. Vladar's the only guy who's 2 years. So they're not making big commitments. And I don't care about the cap space this year. I don't care. Okay. If by some miracle at the trade deadline, they're in a position to, I don't know, pick somebody up and go on a run in this miracle land here, this la la land, great. But that ain't the team we got on paper today.
Right.
Okay. And you got to deal with the team you have on paper today. And look, this team is developing. This team is figuring their stuff out. You get a solid bottom six guy that the coach likes. I'm cool with that.
And here's another thing about Dvorak in particular. Let's pretend the Flyers once again are on the outside looking in at the trade deadline, right? Let's pretend Christian Dvorak turns out to be, the
real motherfucking deal.
A really good, solid, like third line center. And when I say really good, I don't mean, he's putting up 30 goals. Like, that's not what's going to happen.
But, like, replaces what you got out of Ryan Poehling, where Poehling was, what, like a 30-point player who just... Sorry. Brucey doesn't like the Dvorak trade. No, the mailman came.
I guess so, yeah.
I was saying sorry to the mailman. I felt bad, but, what are you going to do? He didn't look phased, so that's a pro right there.
But, with Christian Dvorak, if he turns out to be a, more than serviceable third line center, and the Flyers on the outside looking in at the trade deadline, that's a dude who you can flip to a contending team looking for strength down the middle and get a future asset for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good signing where it's like you can turn him into something. I do think they have designs on keeping Dan Vladar for like his full contract because they're so desperate for goalies. But like, really, I mean, Christian Dvorak is, I think that's a smart signing. I really do. I love that signing completely. I don't think he's not a long-term piece here, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think that's solid. Let's do it into it big time. Vladar's fine. I hope he's better than we expect, but we'll see. He's been a tandem guy, so we'll see on that one. And then these other guys are real barely notable guys here. Noah Juulsen, who spells it Juulsen, so we got to call the guy Vape, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so Vape here, 1 year, $900K cap hit, 28 years old, 6'2", 201, 0 points last season, 17 for his career. I'm assuming this is just a warm body in case of injury.
Yeah, I'm expecting almost nothing from this man. I feel like he's going to play a couple games here and there and be mostly invisible. So
I hope you like Flyer-shaped pretzels, my guy.
Yeah, he's going to love it.
When you're hitting that Joel enough, Dennis Gilbert, I'm not sure which one it is. I don't think it's going to matter because he's also probably not going to play very much. 1 year, $875K cap hit, 28 years old, 6'2", 216, 6 points last season, 20 in his career. I guess also just a warm body.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? When I saw that they signed him, I got him confused with Tom Gilbert, who used to play in the NHL for a long time, played for the Oilers, the Wild, the Panthers. And I was like, that fucking guy's still playing? What the hell? And then he's been
just
out
like
of the
Curtis
league.
Lazar.
Yeah, he's been out of the league since 2017. And so I was like, what the hell? I thought he was long gone. And that's because he is. He's been out of the league since 2017. So not the same person. Dennis Gilbert is very different, and probably not even as good as Tom Gilbert. So yeah.
Terrific.
Cool. Sure. Yeah, bring him in, see what he is. He's 28. Maybe he can, if need be, he can be an emergency, like 8th defenseman.
Sure.
Not expecting anything of him.
No, not really. Finally, Lane Peterson, 1 year, 775K or 7,750, okay, whatever, 775K cap hit, 27 years old, 6'0", 192 pounds, 11 points in 71 games played. Some sort of strange combination name-wise of Lane Johnson and Doug Peterson. But
which, by the way, I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, because something that's not talked about nearly enough is that Doug Peterson helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl in 2017. Well, technically 2018.
Yeah.
And they beat the New England Patriots 41-33 that year.
They did. I heard Tom Brady dropped a ball in that game, and Nick Foles caught one.
He did.
For a touchdown.
And it was for a touchdown. That's right. So I think people need to talk more about that. And then, also not talked about is the Eagles went on to win another Super Bowl this past February. So
beat a dynasty again.
That's right. I don't know if people know that, but
it's a little known fact.
Yeah. So I just feel like that's important to point out. But aside from that, in terms of Lane Peterson and specifically, this guy will be great for the Phantoms.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you got to sign guys for the minors, right? Who the hell knows? Really, there's only 2 guys worth talking about. Dvorak and Vladar, good depth signings. I'm into both of them. Look, your big headline this offseason, Zegras and Martone, okay? Those are your big headlines. Zegras is very exciting. Whatever. Around the league in general, it was kind of a bummer come actual signing day, right? Because most of the guys most of the big names got handled in the week leading up to it. The Mitch Marner was supposed to be the belle of the ball over here, and Mitch Marner had a sign and trade happen the day before to friggin' Vegas yet again. How do they keep getting away with it? They can't keep getting away with it
every year. They're the most electrifying off-season team in the NHL. They have been for 8 years now.
Should we just start a Vegas Knights podcast just to be excited, just to feel a thrill in our lives?
Just to feel something.
Just to feel something. Because, can you imagine your team just made, the sign that? Granted, Mitch Marner, immensely talented player, exciting to get. As far as being a Philly guy, would do horrible here.
It would not go well.
Yeah, Vegas is actually a great destination for him. But, it would be so interesting to get to talk about such a big move, the boldest move of the offseason. So, yeah, Vegas, I don't know how they keep getting away with it, but they keep getting away with it. Marchand and Bennett and Ekblad all stayed in Florida,
dude,
against the odds.
I don't know how the Panthers did that. The Panthers are a wagon. They might three-peat, Steve.
I think they might three-peat.
They might
three-peat. Disgusting.
With Marchand for a full season and just the amount. And you know what? I don't even hate I enjoy the Panthers thoroughly, so I wouldn't be mad.
I'm starting to get a little mad. They can't talk about it. They can't keep getting away with this. Come on.
Yeah.
Got to change it up. Nobody wants to repeat, except Florida.
If it's Florida, I would be okay with it because it's a weird ass hockey market. So I'm okay.
the 10,000 fans they have.
Yeah.
It might be 10, because you always like to joke the 1,000 fans they have. No, I think Florida might have maybe 13K.
That's why I like it when they do well, though. When these weird small market teams do really well, I love that because like you're creating fans. You know what I mean? Like
That's
this is
true.
how you
That's
create
true.
a fan base.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Yeah, we'll see what they end up doing. But
we'll
goddamn, that's some crazy work by the Panthers.
That is some crazy work. Like Bennett was especially expected to be a big name out there, and you know, anybody else really just like, you know, big name wise, like. I don't think so. I think that's most of it right there. Well, I guess Corey Perry, who got rumored to the Flyers for a hot minute, ended up going to LA, which that was so insane to me because that didn't make any sense for the, I think it was just like rumored that the Flyers were interested in it. And I'm like, that makes no sense for where the Flyers are at.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really expecting that, but, I did make a joke about if the Flyers sign Corey Perry, at least that would mean that they're guaranteed to go to the Stanley Cup final. They would just lose.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But, you know, and that is interesting because there's this worry about Tyson Forster, which at this point, I don't know how deep we can get into it. There's still so many unknowns, but that may be a thing. So,
but like what I've heard at this point is that he injured himself, whatever that world championship was, right? And it was some sort of arm injury, and he might miss the beginning of the season. I think the big point of contention was like, it was like 3 months, and it was a matter of, is it 3 months in the season or is it 3 months from now? Because 3 months from now means the beginning of the season, which is who cares? It's a long ass season.
Right.
That's going to get longer if this 84 game CBA is real. So,
yep.
Jesus Christ, 84 games is too many, guys. I can barely handle 82. I don't need 84, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like here's the thing. You don't need Corey Perry. Okay. You could have just kept Jakob Pelletier. You could have just had anybody internally. Corey Perry is old. He's kind of a dick. And he just doesn't make sense for this team as it currently stands. It doesn't make sense for his career either. LA makes a lot more sense because that's a team that's going to make the playoffs most likely and a team that could go on a little run there. So yeah, that's much better suited to where he is because he's 40 now, right?
He is. Yeah, he's a very old man. So.
Yeah, this team doesn't need an old man. Okay. We don't need an old man. We just need to, and like, I don't need an old man like sucking up ice time from all the young guys that need that ice time. I want to see what all these young guys have to offer. I don't give a shit about what Corey Perry has to offer this team.
You know, you mentioned what other good free agents are still out there. Nikolai Ehlers is still out there. The Flyers will not be in on him at all.
If the Flyers had centers and needed wingers, sure, I would love Ehlers. But
that'd be great. But the Flyers, the last thing the Flyers really need is a winger right now. So yeah, but it's interesting. So, yeah. But yeah, kind of a letdown on free agency today. Too much cap space for teams to re-sign their guys. So, oh well. But hey, whatever. The Flyers got some useful pieces. We got Zegras. We got Mishkov. I'm pretty happy. I'm excited to get to the damn season, but it's gonna be a bit. It will be a while until that season hits us because we're now in off-season mode. So who knows what the hell we're going to talk about for the next like couple months, like the next 2 months until the season, at least camp starts and everything, and the Flyers shit the beach again. But we'll get to that point. But, you know, we're going to have regular podcasts until then. We might take a week or two off, but we'll make sure we put it on the socials if that happens. Enjoy your 4th, people out there. This will be coming out on most likely the evening of the 2nd, but go have some Bud Heavies, ride a bald eagle in honor of the Craigster over there. I say it like he's just not on the podcast, but whatever. Drink a Bud Heavy, ride a bald eagle, have some good time. Don't blow off your hands like who was that guy in the Giants who like blew off his hands? Brian, was it? Oh God,
JP,
Jason Pierre-Paul.
JPP.
Yeah,
JPP. Don't be JPP.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. Love Independence Day. Steve, I know famously you are just, I mean, a God-fearing American man. I know you're really excited about Independence Day. So
you know me. And I'm going to love the trash smell around the city because the trash pickup's on strike right now. So, hey, pay your workers, City of Philadelphia.
What a time to be alive in Philly. So
it's going to be awesome. I might haul some trash to Broad and Snyder with me later today. So that's going to be awesome.
Not a bad idea.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
But folks, Thank you for sticking with us. Thanks for another great season of mediocre to bad Flyers hockey. But we had a lot of fun along the way, and we will continue to have fun with the ever bizarre, fun Flyperbole off season, which I'm always excited for. But yeah, folks, if you have any feedback for us, the best place is on the socials, unfortunately, and the best place for that is on Blue Sky Quigs. Where can people find you on the socials?
At Ryan Quigs with a Z. Thank you.
Ryan Quiggs with a Z. You can find me at Flyperbole or at Estebomb. If it's for hockey purposes, though, make it Flyperbole. You can follow Flyperbole on Instagram and TikTok as well. Oh, wow. How about that? If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give this video a like. We would appreciate that. Subscribe wherever the heck you're watching or listening to this. Rate and review, all that good stuff. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow.